What's going on, guys? It's me, Zach, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. And so in this one, I'm going to go over just 3 tight ends that I've identified as potential breakouts this season. In general, my strategy with the tight end position is if I miss out on one of the top 3 to 5 tight ends in my draft, then I tend to punt on tight end and wait until towards the end of the draft and draft one or two, normally two players I think have a lot of upside, and then see if I hit on any of those. And if not, I just sort of stream the position throughout the season. But there's a lot of studies to show that drafting one of those mid-tier tight ends, they don't really give you a positional advantage over guys you can stream, and you're spending a premium pick on a player that you might actually be able to use throughout the season. So in general, it's a pretty bad idea to take one of those tight ends that's ranked 5 to 12 in the preseason. So for that reason, the guys you're going to see here generally are ranked a bit lower than some guys you might be interested in, but I think that all of them do have pretty significant upside and could contribute to your fantasy rosters at almost zero cost. This will be the last video in the Breakout series. I've done videos in the quarterback, running back, and wide receivers positions already. If you haven't watched those videos, please do go take a look at those. If you have any comments or questions about any of the players or any disagreements, let me know in the comments. We'll have a conversation about it. And yeah, so really enjoyed doing these videos, and we'll start on our new series or new video set coming up on Friday. So with that, let's get into the first tight end. First tight end I have listed here is Kmet. Pretty quietly, he actually put up pretty solid numbers last season in an offense that was anemic all year. But despite that, he posted a stat line of 60 receptions for 612 yards, which is pretty respectable. He just happened to have 0 touchdowns. A lot of that was the fact that the team put in Jimmy Graham on the goal line. I don't know why they did that, but Graham could still do that even towards the tail end of his career. But there's no reason that Kmet doesn't profile to be a pretty useful asset in the end zone. He's 6'6", just like Jimmy Graham, and it's never been an issue for him in the past, so I don't see any reason to think that Kmet is going to continue to fail to score. So you're going to see positive touchdown regression, and I think that Kmet is also one of the few tight ends out there that has a legitimate shot to be top 2 in the offense in targets. That's normally something you look for if you want one of those upper tier tight ends. And if you think about it, the only other tight ends that sort of fit that bill are Kelsey, Waller, maybe Mark Andrews, Kittle, and that's probably about it. You could make arguments, I guess Pitts as well, but that basically puts him at a very real reason to think that he could finish as the tight end 6, just using that metric as alone. And I think that it's pretty reasonable to assume that he can add an extra reception and 10 yards every game to his stat line this season. That would put him up to about 75 for 750. And then I think it's also reasonable to assume that he's going to score about 5 touchdowns this season. And if he were to do those things, that would put him at the tight end 6 this season. So I'm not necessarily projecting that, but I think that there's a very realistic path for Kmet to finish in the top 6 of the position. And I think that you're getting him for pretty much free at the end of your drafts, and he's got a lot more upside than a lot of the guys that are going around him, so I think he's more than worth taking a look at. So the next tight end I have here is Gerald Everett. I think that he's largely disappointed people for the start of his career. He hasn't really been able to put together a stretch of games where he's been useful in fantasy, but I still think that that's not enough reason to overlook him this season. He's extremely athletic per player profile. He ranks 94th percentile in burst score. And you can see just how well he performs with the ball in his hands after the catch. He's one of the few tight ends you'll see in the NFL that really can do a lot with the ball in his hands in the open field and breaks tackles. And he really seems to he creates extra yardage every time he gets the ball in his hands. And that's certainly something that Jared Cook wasn't able to offer the Chargers last year, and Jared Cook was still used quite a bit. The Chargers actually gave tight ends a 21% target share, so it's reasonable to assume that Gerald Everett's going to be pretty involved. I would project him to get the 4th most targets of anybody on this team. I'm obviously behind Williams, Keenan, and Eckler. So he's not going to be focal point of the offense because they have so many more talented weapons around him. But with as many points as the Chargers offense is going to put up, I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility for Gerald Everett to put up a spike touchdown season and see that 10-plus touchdowns come his way. And you're also going to get several plays a game where he gets the ball on a tight end screen or in the open field on a flat and gets 10, 15 yards out of it. So I think you're going to have a lot of weeks where you're getting that 4 for 50 out of him, and then you're going to get a touchdown probably every other week. So I think that Everett has a legitimate shot to finish the season with 10 touchdowns, and that's pretty much all you need at the tight end position to really be a contributor. So in general, I look for athletic tight ends that are going to be involved on offenses. They're going to put up a lot of points, and that gives them the chance to put up those spike seasons. And Gerald Everett certainly fits that bill, so he's definitely worth taking a late flyer on in your drafts. Here I have Irv Smith Jr. He was certainly somebody that people were projecting to break out last season, and he unfortunately missed the entire season due to injury. But he comes back into the Vikings offense this season with a legitimate shot to be their number 3 target, behind Jefferson and Thielen. And obviously, defenses are going to key in on Jefferson, Cook, and Thielen because these are some extremely talented weapons, and there's no reason for the defense to be as worried about Irv Smith. But I think that because of the way defenses really shifted towards Jefferson, Cook, and Thielen last season, you saw Conklin get peppered with a lot of targets. Tyler Conklin is by no means a special athlete or by any means any sort of special football player, and he still put up a very respectable 61 for 593 and 3 touchdowns. And Irv Smith is just a better player that's going to see those targets this season. Irv Smith is another player that I think could see a spike touchdown season because I think that the Vikings are going to put up a lot more points this year than they have in the past. So I think what you're looking at is Conklin's season last year in which he finished the tight end 16, sort of being Irv Smith's floor if he can stay healthy. And there's certainly some untapped upside in Irv Smith that we haven't seen yet. And that's sort of the kind of player that I like to draft late. He's a guy that pretty early in the season you'll be able to drop if he's not worth anything. But he certainly gives you the shot at being a really involved part of a potentially high-powered offense. And again, he's going to cost you nothing, so I think he's worth taking a look at. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.